And time is flying. It is a Sunday game inside the Dome against Drexel, 5 p.m. tip, and we're here on the pod today to break it all down. Our full previews coming up on the Locked On Syracuse podcast.
You are Locked On Syracuse, your daily podcast on the Syracuse Orange, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in a Friday Locked On Syracuse podcast. We thank you for making Locked On Syracuse your first listen. We're here with you guys every single weekday, free and available wherever you get your pods, and that includes YouTube now. You can subscribe to the show on YouTube, totally free if you haven't done that already. This episode of Locked On Syracuse is also brought to you by McDonald's, proudly serving communities since 1965 now. McDonald's has always been more than just a place to get tasty, affordable food. It's an unofficial community center. A big thank you to our friends at McDonald's for always being there. I'm loving it. Tim, Leonard, and Tyler Aki back with you guys today. And good news, Ty, this game is on ESPN2 on Sunday.
Watchable.
So we can
I won't be
actually
sending
watch.
you a Twitch link during the game. I won't be sending Twitch links out to the rest of the listeners that DM us saying, hey, where can we watch the game?
I know. I'm excited to actually be able to sit down and consume it like a normal human being for once and not have to. Yes, frantically find out, oh, it's blacked out, which stream, all that. But anyway, we digress. I am excited to see how this team looks against a little bit tougher competition, I would say.
Yeah,
You look
NCAA
at
tournament team from a season ago.
Yeah, right. They were the 16 seed last year. They lost to Illinois pretty handedly. Illinois beat them 78-49. But they come out of the CAA, Drexel, and they were actually the 6th seed in the conference tournament when they went on to win the conference tournament to get into the NCAA tournament. Also of note, last year they did lose to Pittsburgh in the opener, 83-74. That was a Pittsburgh team that did beat Syracuse a couple times, but wasn't all that great. But it's a step up in competition. You look at KenPom, 178 is where they check in right now. They are playing Fairleigh Dickinson on Friday before this Sunday game, which is interesting. And Fairleigh Dickinson, they should beat. Actually, that's the team that just played Seton Hall and Kadari Richmond in the opener the other night.
He's going to have a field day with that on Sunday.
Yes, I was going to say, Kadari, if anyone missed it.
Kadari's lucky that the coach's show was last night.
Right.
So Jim couldn't really watch.
It's so pathetic, but we know Boeheim's going to bring up his stat line, and he fouled out in 15 minutes, had 4 points in the opener, so kind of a shaky first game for him. But I'm sure Boeheim will give us all the details on that on the Sunday presser if it comes to it. I do think this is going to be a tougher game for Syracuse, but another game that they should sort of pass with flying colors, and it matches up to be another 3-point shootout, so to speak.
Right. And again, my key to this one and what I want to see out of Syracuse, again, you're going up against Drexel, 178 in KenPom, like you mentioned, Tim. It's when you execute what you're supposed to do, it doesn't matter what's on the other side of the floor and how well they execute, because your execution will be better than theirs. And again, I just want to see the same thing that I saw in game one, kind of the same key that we had in game one, is leave no doubt for 40 minutes again. All right. If you can continue to do that through Drexel, through Colgate, I don't think that'll be necessarily the case against VCU when you start battle for Atlantis, but these next two games, Drexel and Colgate, leave no doubt for 40 minutes. And I think the Syracuse team certainly capable of that, given what we saw in game one, where some of their big hitters really struggled too.
It is kind of fascinating how it progressively sort of works its way into more difficult games as we go along here. This game, I mentioned about 100 spot leap in KenPom. Then Colgate is around 115 in KenPom. We know about them last year, and they actually did give Arkansas a little bit of a run in the first half of the NCAA tournament. So these are two NCAA tournament teams in a row. Then you go to battle for Atlantis. It starts with VCU. After that, who knows who's next? It could be Baylor, which would be a big jump.
I mean, you could be playing 4 straight maybe 5 straight NCAA tournament teams.
Yeah. Right.
When you look at Drexel, Colgate, VCU, then if you win and then you play Baylor in all likelihood, and then if you lose that game, you could take on a UConn of some sort. Like, there's a lot of NCAA tournament teams on this non-conference schedule. We mentioned it. This is the most top 60 KenPom teams this team has ever faced in a season going. And the other time they did it was back in 2013, season when they had 5.
Yeah, and VCU fans might remember is the team that unfortunately couldn't actually play in the NCAA tournament. They had to forfeit
Right.
the game because of COVID, but they were an NCAA tournament team, to your point. So we progressively go up in competition here. I don't want to be the Debbie Downer guy, but I do feel like maybe there was a little bit of an overreaction to the Lafayette game when we consider they were 290 in Ken Palm. I think they looked good, but
Mhm.
all these Syracuse teams of the past 6 years have looked good against these Drexels and Lafayettes. The really only exception was Bryant last year, and I put that mostly on the COVID pause right before. It
Right.
seems like we tend to take care of business against these teams. I think they will do so against Drexel again, and I'm still looking at how some individual pieces like Benny Williams and Jesse Edwards look, and even Joe Girard to a lesser extent after a good game. See how his floor game continues to progress and what his confidence level is at. But this should be another opportunity for Syracuse to score a lot of points, get up early, and win pretty big here.
Right. And I want to see a lot of the same things that you want to see too. You brought up a couple of key players there. Benny getting some confidence in him. I also want to see Cole Swider. I want to see his performance from beyond the arc. And I think this is a prime spot for him to bounce back against Drexel, who really hasn't seen a team like Syracuse since the NCAA tournament. And they played a D3 school out of the gate in Newman. So hold your Seinfeld jokes. By the way, that's something that old people love to do is make the Seinfeld references. I'm sorry, but your day of reckoning is coming at some point. That those will no longer be in effect in the next like 20
You
years.
just
Those will be,
alienated like our entire fan base.
I may
Probably with
have,
that
I may
comment.
have, but those will be phased out pretty soon. Whenever I don't understand a reference, I always my go to is that is definitely from Seinfeld. So, but no, so then they'll take on Fairleigh Dickinson, step up that way. But then Syracuse is going to be a nice little splash of cold water to the face, I think, for Drexel. And the 3-point shooting, I want to see another solid 3-point shooting effort. They've shot 50% in the first game. I want to see, again, I'm not going to ask for 50% every single game, but hang
Right.
around 40%. I think that'd be a really strong showing again.
It should be totally doable because this is a Drexel team that, well, their 3-point field goal defense was actually decent last year. They typically allow a lot of 3-pointers and they typically are more offensive minded, kind of like Lafayette, honestly. This is pretty similar. It's
Mhm.
another offensive oriented team that's going to shoot some threes. This is a better team. They probably have more playmakers, more athleticism. Cameron Winters, the guy to look out for them. He's their point guard. He's one of the better players in the CAA and he shot at 41% from three last year. He's got a pretty quick first step. They also have a pretty decent big in James Butler, who should be a decent rebounder in this game and a good test in that
Mhm.
regard. But they bring back a lot from last year, and they made it to the NCAA tournament. So it's not like a total snoozer of a team, but at the same time, their defense is going to allow a lot of 3-point opportunities for Syracuse. And the way Syracuse has been passing, I envision probably another over and another high
Yeah.
scoring effort from Syracuse.
You brought up how, yeah, they were the 6th seed in the CAA tournament last year, but I don't think that really told the whole story for Drexel. I mean, analytically, they were near the top of the CAA, and the CAA has a pretty solid team in James Madison. Although this season the CAA is banning James Madison from competing because James Madison wants to move conferences, and so I think
Right.
a couple of people watching the CAA this year are putting the whole season under protest. I'll do the little baseball pee for anyone watching on YouTube right now. But I again, there were some things in that first game for Syracuse against Lafayette that I think are very fixable in terms of the things that Boeheim had gripes with after the game, not getting back on defense. I mean, that's just something that is an easy fix. If defensively, if that was your biggest qualm with the team, that's a good thing because I think Boeheim and myself included kind of liked how everyone moved defensively within the zone and within the shells of it. But you just got to get back and get into that defense. Again, Syracuse has never been a team that's really relied a lot on offensive rebounding. I'd rather sacrifice some of the offensive boards to get back on defense
Right.
because maybe they can take that step. And again, it's always going to be the new guys. What did we say last year? Alan Griffin would go back on defense and look for his man and try to like match up man to man. That's not the defense you're running. So you just got to get back there. And I think with Frank and Benny, hopefully that's an easy fix for them moving forward.
So we'll get into our prop shop and then we will pick the game at the end of the podcast today. But I want to remind you guys about McDonald's. It's been proudly serving communities since 1965, and McDonald's has always been more than just a place for tasty, affordable food. It's a place where friends and family can come to reconnect, a place where classmates can meet up for a study group, knowing they'll have dependable Wi-Fi and endless supplies of French fries and McFlurries. Win or lose, it's a place where teammates, competitors, the home team or the away team can come to recharge. It's the place you always look forward to stopping at a long road trip. That is definitely true. I don't know if I've ever made a road trip in my entire life without stopping at a McDonald's, getting my McDouble, getting a McFlurry, helping me refuel for the rest of the trip. It is perfect for that. So head to your local McDonald's to refuel and reconnect. McDonald's, I'm loving it. All right, time for the prop shop. Quick update on where we stand after the first game. Ty jumped out to a little bit of an early lead. Once again, you actually hit the Joe Girard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which was big. And I picked Jimmy for who will lead Syracuse in scoring. We'll do that again today. I was feeling great right off the bat.
Yeah.
You hit Joe Girard. He had 20. Jimmy, I think, finished with 18, if I'm not mistaken. They all kind of were right around there, those top four guys. But after the first week, I am dead even, 3-3. I did hit the spread. We both hit the over. We liked that big time, and we easily hit that. That was 151 last week. They smashed that. You were 4-2. But because you hit Girard at plus 250, you're up 350 overall compared to me at even. Our first one today is one you hit last week. I didn't hit, is the Syracuse over-under on three-pointers made. We set it at 11.5 last week. They hit 13. I bumped it up to 12.5. I don't know if that's the right play. I guess just because it's Drexel and the way they're trending, I feel like if it was 11.5 again, it'd be an easy over for us. I'm going to still take the over at 12.5 because I do think this is a team that you can get up threes on, and Syracuse will be scoring a lot of points again. But what do you think?
I'm going to go with the over too, just because we didn't see Buddy or Cole find a ton of success from three-point land last game. So those are supposed to be your two best three-point shooters, and they didn't shoot well, and you still went over the 11.5 that we set last week. So yeah, I'm going to take the over too.
Syracuse, by the way, 11 for 26 in the first two games, 13 for 26 last week. So I guess they're just going to attempt 26 threes for every game for the rest of the season, maybe. But I do think they might even attempt more than that in this game and go over that 12.5. Next one, Joe Girard assist. He had 7 last week, 1 turnover. We'll set the over-under for his assist at 6.5.
I'm wondering if we're going to see a Joe Girard game here where he only scores 10 points.
That's what I was
thinking.
He
might have like 15 assists. Maybe not 15, but like 12. Like a double-digit level, like a double-digit level assist game where he just explodes and sets up. So he may only have like 10, 11 points, but I think he's going to go over the 6.5 too. And I think a lot of it is going to be maybe Drexel keys in on him a little bit more from the three-point arc, and he just finds a much more open Cole or Buddy for a couple of threes.
Yeah, I'm totally with you here. I don't know why. I think this has been a corner I've been on for a while, that Girard's passing is better than people give him credit for. And also, I think he's just going to continue to rack up assists this year. And it's going to be like every game we're going to jump on this podcast and say, whoa, Girard 8 assists, Girard 7 assists. And then all of a sudden he's going to be up there in the ACC in assists per game. So I'm going to take the over there. I bet he has more of a pass first type game. And well, he did really do a lot of passing in the last game as well.
I think he might try to set up Benny a little more too.
Yeah,
get him going.
Awesome. Or Jesse in this game. Like, let's get him involved down low.
He's going to have the height advantage. Maybe some. Right. I mean, you've got a center on the other side who's 6'8", 6'9". This could be a game for Frank for a couple of lobs over the top if he's rim running well.
Right. All right. So who will lead Syracuse in scoring? That's our next prop. We do this every week. Adjusted the odds a little bit. Here's how they run down this week. We got Buddy at plus 135 leading the way. That means if you put down $100, you make 135 if you won. Swider plus 185 in second. Girard goes from 250 to plus 200 this week because you hit on him. And then Jimmy is from 280 to plus 250 this week. Benny plus 450. I dropped him down a little, and Jesse plus 650. And then if you want to take an other, being a Frank Anselm Torrance, you can reach for that at plus 1,000.
No Patty Casey on here? No Patty Casey?
Oh, man. Patty Casey.
I'm getting Braden Bayer vibes. I'm getting Braden Bayer vibes.
I'll give you plus 3,000. Or John Bull, I'll give you whatever you want for him.
Over under a half. John Bull, bad threes.
Air balls on threes. I would say he's not shooting a three for a very long time after last game.
It won't come at Syracuse. It'll come at Siena.
And maybe he will get a couple up in practice, but I doubt he does it in a game again. Even practice, he'd get yelled at, I'm sure. I
Mhm.
would say the more I think about the way that Syracuse's offense is going to sort of perform this year and who's going to lead the team in scoring on a given night, I feel like it's just those top four guys are more balanced than maybe we thought
Yeah,
initially.
you're playing roulette with it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think Buddy is going to ever be like the Sean Tucker star of this team. Like I know I touched on that when we did the preview pods and I talked about how he might not be an All-American because of that, but I'm more into like betting Jimmy at plus 250 than Buddy at plus 135 because I think they're all kind of smushed together more than we think.
Yeah, and listen, there's gonna be games where Buddy goes off for 30, and he's
Yeah.
gonna make us look dumb when we never pick him this year. But again, we're playing the odds here, and I kind of like the value I'm seeing on Cole Swider. I think this could be a really big bounce back game, and if he finds his stroke from three, he could be a guy that ends up with 20, 25 points, maybe.
Well, I was going to take Swider too, so I'll ride with him as well. We won't have any opportunity of getting a big difference in that one, but
We
at
are
plus
perfectly in
185.
stride today.
Yeah, we
Like
are. We're
everything.
3 for 3 so far. So let's see if we have any difference on picking the actual score predictions in a little bit. But before we do that, I want to tell you guys about betonline.ag. They will be giving us those score predictions and odds. You can go to their website this weekend. On Sunday is the game, and you can get that spread for BetOnline. They are back in better than ever, a new web interface at the start of basketball season, more props, odds, and lines than ever before. And they remain your number one spot for all the basketball and football action this season. We've got a promo code for you. If you head to their new updated desktop or mobile website, our promo code is locked on to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Again, the promo code is locked on, all one word, for 50% off. Bet Online is the fastest and easiest way to bet all your favorite sports. Bet Online, where the games start.
Also, want to tell you about the best tasting protein bar ever. It is Built Bar. And if you haven't tried a Built Bar by now, you're missing out. Do what Tim and I do. They say it's a protein bar, but it does not taste like one. You just got to try one of these amazing bars for yourself to believe it. Most of them are chalky, waxy, sometimes just plain hard to eat. But Built Bars are soft, covered in 100% chocolate. When you bite into it, you know you're eating something a little bit different. It's more of an experience and one that I know you'll enjoy. In fact, you'd swear you're eating a candy bar. Built Bars are low carb, low calorie, low fat, low sugar, and high in protein. So all the healthy benefits on top of just being so purely delicious. And it comes in amazing flavors as well, whether you like coconut, raspberry, mint brownie, our favorite, the peanut butter brownie, and so much more. Plus, this month, Built is coming out with new limited time flavors every 3 to 4 days. So check their website often. You don't want to miss out. Go to built.com, use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. Again, promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com.
All right, so we're recording Thursday morning here. No line out yet on BetOnline for this Sunday game against a 5 p.m. tip. So you can put that in your calendar. But when I look at KenPom here, they're projecting 81 to 65. Syracuse will win this game by 16 points. I would tend to think that they will beat that 16-point mark if I had to guess right now. And I think Syracuse will score more than 81 points. And not Lafayette. Drexel will score more than 65 points. So I'm leaning towards maybe a little more high scoring than you might think. And also Syracuse probably taking care of business, getting off to another quick start in this game. And like I said, it really comes down to how does Benny Williams look? How does Frank Anselm look? Does
Yeah,
Symir
these are
Torrance
developmental
maybe
games.
finish a little bit more at the rim? I think this is a better team than what we saw against Lafayette. So it might be a little bit closer in the first half. But at the end of the day, we just have too many shooters for these inexperienced or like not defensive minded teams that we're playing right now.
Yeah, I don't love picking spreads in these early games, and not just because of the opponent, but also because you don't really know what you're getting on the other side as well. And so that again, I would never advise someone to take a game spread on something this early.
Yeah.
But I'm with you. I like the over once again. I think the Syracuse team is probably going to go over at about a 55-60% clip this year, if I had to guess, somewhere in that range. And I look at on the other side, you're right. Drexel's got some shooters. We'll see if Syracuse maybe tightens some things up defensively. But out of the gate, I think Syracuse probably can provide a little bit of resistance defensively. I thought that's what they did in the first 15, 17 minutes of the game against Lafayette. Just continue to do that. And I think the over can get to itself pretty handily. with just Syracuse performing like Syracuse can. And then for a pick, I guess I'll ride with you. Let's make it 5 for 5 today. All right. And
Wow.
I'll ride the orange too with that 16-point projection.
I guess that's bad for me. That means you're going to be leading in the prop shop going into Colgate, but oh well.
You've got a
I
whole
hope
battle
we
for
both
Atlantis
go.
to make up for it.
Right. We got tons of time in the season, although it got out of hand quickly for me football-wise in our prop shop game. But yeah, I think just one final note on this game is, again, they're probably going to win big. They're probably going to look really good in the process of doing it. But I don't want to be this guy, but like, again, pump the brakes a little bit, because every season for the last 6 years at this stage of the season, there has been a lot of reason to believe it's different. And this is a top 3, top 4 ACC team, and it hasn't happened yet. And look, I just think the way that Syracuse's 2-3 zone operates, when you play these mid-major teams that have no sort of expertise against the zone, no prep,
Right.
they never play. Like even Lemoyne, I remember there was some chatter before that game, and Lemoyne, you think they maybe would have prepped for it, knowing that they're right across the street, but they were like, all those guys on that roster had never played against a zone like that. It's totally rattling to a team that is at the start of their season. And I think for the most part, Syracuse has just taken care of business against these weaker teams, because the zone makes it a little less variance. Or if you're playing man-to-man defense, it's a little easier probably for a Drexel to upset Syracuse. But the zone kind of takes that away. So I would just say don't overreact until we see it against Battle for Atlantis type competition.
Right. And I think the one thing that you can draw is, are they getting better week to week, game to game? Fundamentally, how do they look? Listen, Jim laid it out. What did he not like about the zone? He didn't like that Frank didn't get back. He didn't like that Benny didn't get back.
Yeah.
All right, fix that in this game. You just want to take these steps. You're going to have growing pains defensively when you have such an intricate system. And it sounded like on his coach's show yesterday that he talked about how they put a ton of time into it just because of how many new players they had on the roster this season. And I think fundamentally things looked pretty good against Lafayette. Again, tough to really tell against some of these teams, but for the most part, people were moving. Like, you want to see people from an IQ standpoint be in the right places at the right time. And you can probably afford to be a half step slow against Lafayette's, Drexel's, Colgate's. You probably can't against the VCU's, Baylor's, and then Arizona State's or UConn's or whoever you're going to see, Auburn, Loyola in the battle for Atlantis. But you just want to make sure right now, every time there's something that's brought up that you're doing wrong, you're fixing these little things. So that way, when you do get to those important junctures in your season, everything's tightened up a little bit. And then once you get to ACC play, hopefully the defense can be a top 45, top 40 sort of unit.
Right. It's weird because the take on Syracuse when they add newcomers is the start of the year is when the zone struggles. But I do think, weirdly enough, for the first 3 or 4 games when we always played these mid-major type foes, the zone is actually helps us in that regard. Like the way that Syracuse, you look at the rest of the ACC, how they did compared to them, and they left no doubt for 40 minutes, and a lot of the other teams didn't. I do think that's a byproduct, a little bit of the zone just puzzling these mid-major teams to the point where like Virginia loses to Navy, but we see Virginia do that at the start of the year some to mid-major teams because maybe it's a little bit easier for a mid-major team to do it against a man-to-man defense. I don't know. It's just
more teams play
pack
line too.
brainstorming.
More teams play pack line than this intricate 2-3 zone that Syracuse has. I mean, Rob Murphy isn't a head coach anymore, so the little guy that you might be playing at Eastern Michigan, you're not going to see that sort of defense. It's really just Syracuse and Washington at this point. Now that Murphy's out of the fold,
which Washington is not looking good against mid-majors, so lower than mid-majors. But
big week for NIU. Big week all around. Basketball, football, they pulled off a big win yesterday. But no, I mean, I want to see you leave no doubt for 40 minutes, just like you did against Lafayette. And I think they're certainly capable of that. Win the first 10 minutes. Just be ruthless the first 10 minutes. Another thing that I really like that we didn't really touch on in our recap, but the turnover numbers, way down. I mean, the first 8 minutes, they were without a turnover, which is fantastic. I'm talking offensively. And then they ended up with just 9. On the other side, they didn't turn over Lafayette a lot either. They only had 10. So really just pretty sound basketball from that standpoint, I think, on both sides. But if you can continue to do that, keep like Joe Girard's, the Buddy Boeheims, if you keep those turnover numbers down, again, your offense is so good. You want to give your offense as many possessions as possible, because the more chances you give this offense to score, the more likely they are to hit the 80, 85, 90 point marks.
Yeah, and like Lafayette, I think that Drexel has a team that does not turn it over much and also doesn't force a lot of turnovers, even relative to their normal competition. So you'd think that they will be able to take care of the basketball again, get up early, and kind of cruise like they did last week. Probably a little bit tighter than Lafayette. Maybe won't reach a 30-point lead at some point, but I feel confident that they will do that again. That is going to wrap up our Drexel preview podcast, Game Sunday. Follow along with us on Twitter as we live tweet the game. We'll also be live tweeting football on Saturday, as we always do. You can follow the Twitter page at LO_Syracuse is our handle there. And also check us out on YouTube. We're totally free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for making us your first listen. We're here with you guys every single weekday, the only place for daily Syracuse podcasts. And we will have a full recap of the weekend on Monday and Tuesday, recapping football and basketball. Until then, enjoy the weekend, enjoy the games, and we'll talk